Happy Sunday! It's July 9th, 2017. And we're going to end up with the week. And then I'm going to start doing this blog where I'm going to talk about things diabetic wise that happen. And from then, we'll be able, hopefully, to keep this going strong. And for any of you that have a topic of what diabetes is or what you want to discuss about, list it below and I'll gladly talk about it. I don't know if anyone watches this yet, but we'll keep going with it. All right. So today we're going to talk about counting carbs and what the reason for this, and I'll start off with a bit of the history. Now, years ago, we all had what we called exchanges, and I'm talking, well, I guess it's over 30 years now, and we all had exchanges, and with these exchanges, really was, you couldn't exchange them, it was more what they call now meal choices. And you could have 4 proteins. So, for example, that used to mean 4 ounces of protein. So you could have 4 ounces of meat. Well, this all stemmed because at one time you had a certain amount of insulin and that covered your meals. So you had to have a certain amount of sugar in order to cover these. But that worked well. But if you ever got hungry, like, I don't know, you were out and you did some rigorous exercise, then you were hungry. But if you ate more, you would have and you would eat more, you would have higher than normal blood sugars. And this didn't really work well for people. So they came up with carb counting. And what this means is you're given a baseline of insulin. If you're on shots, you're given a baseline of insulin. And that's usually a longer acting, like Lantus, Lente, and if NPH is still out there, I'm not sure if it is. And this, oh, sorry, I just got bugs all around. This would be just a small amount, and that would hold you through the day. And when you ate, you would increase the amount of insulin you took based on the amount of carbs. And they set around 1 piece of white bread as 15 units of carbs. And then they decided, well, when you're out at a restaurant, you're not going to have your scales to measure your carbs and everything, and it's not going to be as easy. Well, they came up with your fist. And roughly, I guess, most people's fists are pretty much the same. And if you have any food about the size of a wrist, there, that shows my wrist a little bit better, that would be 15 units of carbs. And then if you have twice that size, that would be 30 units, and so on. Now, with the counting carbs, there's little other rules you kind of have to follow. And that being that fruit have carbs, and carbs are sugar. No way you're going to get around that. So, things that won't have sugar are things like water. I remember matzo crackers didn't have it. Protein doesn't have carbs. So, proteins are something that your body needs to build on. So, if you need that, then I think, you're going to kind of need to not compensate for them. So, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't just be sitting there eating a whole bunch of protein because it doesn't count for anything. Because if you do that, you're going to end up being or having a low blood sugar. Because your body needs carbohydrates in order for fuel. It also needs for it to regulate your blood sugar. Now, another rule you have to take a look at is if you're counting like bread, and you take a look on the sides, and it's got the Canadian Food Guide list. And if it says there, bread, 2 slices has 20 units of carbs in it. You also have to look at how much fiber is in these 2 pieces of bread. And you've got to subtract those grams. If you don't, then you're going to end up giving too much insulin, and you're going to, and you're going to cause yourself to have a low blood sugar. So, your dietitian will give you the answers to all your questions about carb counting. You can look to the CDA and you can just type in carb counting. Now, there's a number of apps on your iPhones, iTablets that say, carb counting. But those carb countings are for weight loss. They're not really for diabetes, so they're not really going to count your fiber correctly. And you want to make sure that if you get one there where you type your carbs in, that you type in the correct amount of insulin that you're going to be giving yourself. Because if you make an error there, you're going to have a higher blood sugar or lower blood sugar. And things don't always end up working well. And you know what? You need to take control. I mentioned this yesterday. And if you don't take control of your diabetes and what you put into your body, you could gain weight, you could have low blood sugars. And if you have low blood sugars, you are going to end up gaining weight because you're going to keep eating. And that's what happened to me when I was in the hospital. I gained pretty close to another 50 pounds because every time I was a low blood sugar, they kept saying, here, you're going to have to eat more. And they kept loading my plate full of more. And, eventually, I couldn't eat anymore. I was stuffed. But, you have to keep eating. And, they didn't want to hook me up with an IV of sugar because, if you're not home, you're not going to be able to have sugar. Well, thank God I'm starting to work on getting rid of it. Now, when you're a type 1 diabetic and you keep working on trying to lose weight, it's probably not as easy as you think. Because you're going to have insulin. And insulin is going to add on your weight. So if you have too much insulin, you're taking a lot more carbs and you're taking a lot more insulin. So you really can't win no matter how you do it. Anyway, have a great Sunday, and we'll be back at you on Monday, which I'll discuss with you how my day went today. Talk to you later. Bye now.